The king arrives in the morning. Francis, King of France, my patron, the most powerful man in Europe, is coming to my studio at dawn to see what I have been working on. I have been here 2 years. I have not painted a single thing. He does not know this. Tonight, I have to decide whether to tell him. The fire is low. The chateau makes sounds at this hour. The stone settling, the wind off the Loire finding the gaps in the shutters. There is ink on my left hand, and wine I have not touched, and the smell of turpentine that does not go away because it lives in the walls now. This is what 65 looks like at midnight. That is the situation. Let me tell you how I arrived at it. 18 months ago, my right hand failed. Not suddenly. I'm always precise, even about bad news. It failed the way a fire fails. Slowly, then all at once. The fine detail work went first. Then the broad strokes became uncertain. Then one morning I reached for a brush, and my hand simply did not close around it in the way that hands close around things. I set the brush down. I have not picked one up since. I picked up a pen with my left hand instead. I have been writing ever since. I sat with the useless hand for 3 days before I did that. I did not weep. I did not pray. I sat at this desk and looked at my hand and tried to understand what had happened to me the way I would try to understand anything. By looking at it directly and without sentiment until it told me what it was. On the 3rd day, it told me. I picked up the pen. Francis does not know about the hand because I have not told him. When he visits the studio, I position myself at the desk. Notebooks open, instruments arranged, the appearance of a man in the middle of something. He sees the Mona Lisa on the easel and assumes I am still working on it. I have been working on it for 15 years. The merchant who commissioned it has presumably given up. I cannot give her up. There comes a point where a painting stops being unfinished and becomes something else. I think about what that something else is most nights. She has been watching me arrange this deception from the easel for 2 years. I find that appropriate. I want to be precise about why I haven't told him. It is not vanity. I am 65 and vain about very little. It is not fear of losing the pension, though I will not pretend that consideration is entirely absent. The real reason is this. I did not tell him because when the hand failed, I did not know who I was without the painting. I have been a painter my entire life. Every other thing I am, engineer, anatomist, mathematician, architect, all of it lived in the shadow of the painting. And when the painting was taken, I needed to find out, before I could explain it to anyone else, whether there was anything left underneath. There is. That is what tonight is about. The notebooks, 13,000 pages at last count, though I have stopped counting. Flying machines, the mechanics of the human heart. I dissected 30 bodies to understand it, at night, in candlelight, because the church had opinions, and I did not ask. The behavior of water, the mathematics of perspective, the structure of the eye. I have been writing down everything I understand about everything for 40 years, and I have shown almost none of it to anyone, because the painting always came first, and the notebooks always waited. I have written more in the last 18 months than in the previous 10 years combined. There is a page from 2 months ago, a study of how light bends when it passes through water of different depths. I have been thinking about that problem since I was 23. I finally understood it at 3 in the morning in November, with my left hand by candlelight, 50 years after I first asked the question. That is what the notebooks are. 50 years of questions that finally had room to be answered. There are designs in these pages for machines that will not be built for 400 years. I know this the way you know certain things, not from calculation, but from the particular loneliness of an idea that has nowhere to land yet. I chose painting over publishing the science. It was a choice, and I made it deliberately. But the notebooks were always here, waiting for the hand to fail, waiting for me to become what I apparently actually am. Everyone assumes they know what I have lost: the hand, the painting, the great unfinished work. They are wrong. In 1498, I painted the Last Supper on a wall in Milan. I used a technique of my own devising, tempera on plaster rather than traditional fresco, because I wanted to be able to correct and refine as I worked. Every other painter told me it would not hold. They were right. The paint began to deteriorate within my own lifetime. I was still alive to see it. The greatest thing I ever made was already becoming something else before I had finished making it. I have thought about that wall every day for 19 years, not with regret. With a kind of clarity I did not have before. Nothing holds. Everything you make begins immediately to become something other than what you intended. The only question is whether what it becomes keeps asking the right questions. That is what I grieve, not the loss. The gap between what I made and what I meant. I have had 19 years to think about what it means. There is a watch on my desk. I found it years ago in a Florentine estate. Silver case, worn smooth. Inside the case, engraved, "Who is watching?" I have been carrying that question for 30 years. It is the only question I have not written down in the notebooks. Some questions you keep inside you because writing them down would make them smaller. The ones that are doing the real work need room to move. Francis asked me once what I was working on. I showed him the flying machine designs. He studied them for a long time. He is not a stupid man. He simply lives entirely in the present tense, which is the particular luxury of kings. And then he said, "Will it fly?" I said, "Not yet." He said, "Then what is it for?" I said, "It is for whoever builds it." He thought about that. Then he said, "I don't understand." I said, "I know. That is why I am showing it to you. I have spent my entire life showing things to people who cannot see them yet. I have decided that is not a failure. It is simply a matter of timing. Some things are not for the room you are standing in. If you are reading this, wherever you are, whenever this is, then someone found the notebooks. Then you already know what it cost me to write them. The hand. The thing I built my entire life around. The gift you are most certain you cannot live without. You will lose it. Not might, will. The hand, the voice, the circumstance, whatever specific form your gift takes. The world will find a way to change it into something you don't recognize. This is not a tragedy. This is the terms. What I want you to understand, what 18 months in this chateau with a useless hand has taught me at considerable cost, is that the gift was never the thing you thought it was. The gift is not the painting. The gift is the looking that produces the painting. The gift is not the equation. The gift is the quality of attention that produces the equation. You cannot lose the looking. The hand fails. The looking does not fail. When my right hand closed, I picked up a pen with my left, and I kept looking. The notebooks are fuller now than they have been in 20 years. Something clarified. The painting was the thing that was in the way. I will tell Francis in the morning. I will tell him, the painter is finished. I have been a scientist all along. The painting was how I taught myself to look. The looking was always the point. I am going to write until the light comes. The Last Supper is failing on a wall in Milan. The flying machines are waiting in a notebook for a century that does not exist yet. A merchant's wife has been watching me from an easel for 14 years. And I am sitting here with a left hand and a question I have not yet written down, and enough wine to last until morning. I am counting backwards. I do this at night. She's still asking me something about light. I think I'm almost there. It is enough. It has always been enough. Who is watching? I am. Until the light comes.